The morning sun cast a pale glow over the city courthouse, but inside the tension was suffocating. Armed guards stood at every entrance, their eyes scanning every face for the slightest hint of threat. Reporters clustered behind barricades, cameras flashing wildly as a black armored van rolled through the court's rear gates. The van's tinted windows revealed nothing, but everyone knew who was inside: Rafay the Cobra Khan, the most dangerous crime lord the city had seen in a decade, was finally going to trial a man known for orchestrating assassinations, running international smuggling rings, and vanishing without a trace. Rafay's appearance in court was both a victory and a warning. Dozens of officers flanked him as he was led from the van in shackles, wearing a crisp, clean prison uniform that contrasted his fierce gaze and cold demeanor. His smile, calm, calculated, sent a chill through everyone present. Inside the courtroom, the atmosphere was electric. Judges whispered nervously. Lawyers adjusted their files with trembling hands. The public gallery was packed, a mix of media, law students, and a few daring civilians who had managed to get in. As Rafay entered, a hush fell. He walked slowly, each step echoing like a drumbeat. His eyes scanned the room, locking onto the prosecutor, a young but fearless woman named Zara Ali. Their eye contact lasted only a second, but it was enough to feel like a war had begun. The judge entered. "All rise," the bailiff commanded. Just as the session began, a loud bang echoed from outside the building. A car had exploded in the parking lot. Screams followed. Panic surged through the courtroom. Guards rushed to windows. One officer stepped toward Rafay, but in that split second of confusion, Rafay acted. A guard near him crumpled to the floor, stabbed with something sharp. No one saw what. Rafay moved like a serpent, ducking low, shoving past a bailiff, and sprinting toward the side exit. "Lock the doors!" someone shouted. But it was too late. Amid the chaos, smoke suddenly filled the hallway. Someone had released a canister. The sound of boots pounding against tiles echoed. Rafay was gone. The courtroom, moments ago so tense and orderly, now erupted in total chaos. The distraction begins. Just 20 minutes before Rafay Khan's high-profile court hearing, a man in a faded delivery uniform walked calmly up to the courthouse's front steps. He wheeled a battered metal cart labeled "Fragile Medical Equipment." The security guards at the gate eyed him suspiciously. "You're not on the list," one of them barked. The man's hand trembled as he held out a clipboard. "Emergency medical drop, Judge Rashid's chambers," he stammered, avoiding eye contact. The guard took the clipboard, and that's when the small blinking red light under the cart caught his attention. "Back up!" the guard yelled. "Everyone move, now!" Within seconds, alarms shrieked across the premises. Officers drew their weapons. The entire front entrance was locked down. A crowd of journalists and bystanders began to scream and scatter in panic. Inside the courthouse, staff scrambled to respond. Emergency protocols kicked in. Everyone was being evacuated or locked in place. The courtroom where Rafay was being held went into full lockdown, but the confusion seeped through the walls like smoke. Outside, chaos spread like wildfire. A bomb squad arrived, sirens wailing. Snipers took positions on rooftops, but what they found shocked them. When they opened the cart, it was empty except for a blinking timer attached to a small speaker. The bomb wasn't real. Just a voice recording looped over and over again. Tick-tock. "You can't stop what's coming inside." Rafay sat still, barely hiding his smirk. He knew the signal had been given. The false bomb threat was phase 1, perfectly timed to stretch security thin and overwhelm communication between departments. As guards relayed new information over their radios, their focus fractured. One group was dispatched to the front, another to the parking lot. One officer guarding the hallway was called off to assist with crowd control. And that's when the side corridor camera mysteriously cut out for exactly 90 seconds. It didn't take long. A faint click echoed behind a utility door near the courtroom. A maintenance worker stepped out, but the uniform didn't quite fit him. Under the cap, his face was hidden, but his purpose was clear. Phase 2 of Rafay Khan's escape was in motion. The inside man. The courtroom remained under lockdown, but the chaos outside had stretched the security team thin. Officers were being pulled in different directions, and communication was fractured. Amidst the shouting, radio static, and rushing footsteps, Officer Khalid stood calmly at Rafay Khan's side. He was a veteran cop, quiet, unassuming, known for never speaking more than necessary. No one suspected that beneath that stoic face lay months of planning and a promise of wealth too large to ignore. Rafay leaned slightly toward him, his voice barely audible. "Everything's in place," Khalid didn't answer. Instead, he turned slightly, his back shielding Rafay from the rest of the room. With a subtle motion, he reached into his vest and pulled out a small magnetic key, the kind used only for military-grade handcuffs. With his other hand, he held Rafay's elbow, pretending to restrain him. He whispered, "You've got 60 seconds. After that, you're on your own." Click. The sound was barely louder than a breath, but to Rafay, it was freedom. The cuffs loosened. He kept them on, but now they were fake, no longer locking his wrists, just resting around them like props. Khalid moved away, calling into his radio. "Unit 4, requesting backup near the lobby. Bomb squad needs additional hands." He exited quickly, face blank, heart pounding, praying no one would question his sudden reassignment. In his locker downstairs, a suitcase stuffed with unmarked US dollars waited for him, his reward for betraying the badge he wore for 18 years. Back in the courtroom, Rafay shifted in his seat, rolling his shoulders as if uncomfortable. The judge had not yet returned, and most attention was still diverted to the explosion scare. Then it happened. Another loud noise outside, this time a false fire alarm. The courtroom lights flickered. Rafay stood swiftly, the cuffs clattered to the floor, unheard under the blare of the alarm. Within seconds, he was at the back exit. The security camera had been looped. No one saw him move. By the time someone noticed the empty defendant's chair, Rafay Khan had already slipped into the service corridor, where a stolen janitor's uniform and a keycard waited. The real escape had begun. Rafay Khan moved with precision, his face calm, heart steady. Dressed in a janitor's uniform, he passed unnoticed through the dimly lit service corridor. The cameras in this section were outdated, installed decades ago and never upgraded. More importantly, they'd already been hacked and looped for exactly 3 minutes. He reached an old maintenance door marked Authorized Personnel Only. From his pocket, he pulled a rusted brass key, smuggled to him inside a hollowed bar of soap weeks earlier by a prison contact who worked in the archives department. The key fit perfectly. Beyond the door lay a narrow stairwell, choked with cobwebs and mildew. Dust danced in the slivers of light that slipped through ceiling grates. At the bottom, a heavy iron grate, partially buried under forgotten tools and debris. Rafay knelt and pried it open with effort. Beneath it was the entrance to a century-old tunnel system, once used during the colonial era as a hidden transport route for high-risk prisoners and secret goods. Very few even knew it existed. Most of it had collapsed over the years, except one particular path, recently reinforced, thanks to large bribes and precise instructions. As he descended into the darkness, the air grew thick and damp. He flicked on a small flashlight tucked inside his janitor's tool belt. The walls were lined with crumbling bricks, slick with moss and time. Rats scurried past his feet. Every step echoed, every second mattered. Above him, sirens were screaming. Somewhere in the distance, the fire alarm had been shut off. Soon, someone would realize the prisoner was gone. Rafay picked up the pace, ducking low as the ceiling shrank. At one point, he crawled on all fours through a collapsed section, emerging breathless into a wider tunnel. Graffiti marked the walls here, signs others had once passed through. He finally reached a steel hatch, bolted shut. From inside his boot, he pulled a custom wrench. 2 quick turns. A heavy creak. The hatch opened to a storm drain near the river. As daylight broke through the narrow exit, Rafay took a deep breath and smiled. He was no longer in the courthouse. He was free, and already 10 steps ahead. Skirts. Scene, the safe house. The sun was setting, casting long, bleeding shadows over the outskirts of the city. Here, among a forgotten industrial zone filled with broken fences and overgrown train tracks, stood a crumbling warehouse. The windows were shattered, the paint peeled like old skin, and the sign above the rusted gate read, "Shams Textile Mill, closed since 1998. Inside, silence reigned, except for the occasional flutter of pigeons nesting in the rafters. In the far back of the warehouse, behind a wall of stacked crates and discarded machinery, a small space had been cleared. A single camping lantern flickered, casting pale yellow light on the concrete floor. A thermos, a half-eaten meal, and a duffel bag sat beside a folded mattress. Rafay Khan sat cross-legged, wiping blood and grime off his hands with a rag. The janitor uniform was gone, replaced with plain black clothes. His expression was unreadable, but his eyes scanned a small burner phone in his palm. One missed call, a code, 317. He typed a reply. Tunnel secured, phase 2 ready. Outside, a motorcycle engine rumbled and then went quiet. Moments later, a figure in a helmet slipped through the broken side door, carrying a backpack. Rafay stood. "You're late," he said flatly. The rider pulled off the helmet, a young woman no older than 25. Sharp eyes, no fear. She handed him the bag without a word. He opened it. Clean clothes, fake IDs, cash in multiple currencies, and a handgun. "You're leaving tonight," she said. "Routes cleared through the East Canal, boats ready, no police presence within 3 miles. Rafay nodded, zipping the bag shut. "Good. And Khalid already out of the country. Your money's been transferred." For a moment, the two stood in silence, listening to the wind outside. Then Rafay looked around at the warehouse. "It's fitting," he murmured. "Rotten, forgotten, just like the justice system." He turned off the lantern, plunging the room into shadows. As they slipped out the side door and disappeared into the industrial fog, only silence remained. And the faint echo of a man who had just outsmarted the entire system.